Call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. We will start with an invocation by Jeff Gilbo.
Thank you. Bow our heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the ability to gather here tonight to do your work. May what we do here tonight be pleasing in your sight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Any addenda to the agenda?
No, sir. Nothing else to add.
All right. Approval of minutes. Let me back up. Approval of minutes from the July 7th. Has everybody been able to take a look at those?
I make a motion that they be approved.
Dave. Herbert seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving along to the public hearings. Looking at RZ 1703.
Yes, sir. The staff report I have really covers the first two agenda items. I've combined them into one staff report since they're both dealing with the university and they're in the same neighborhood. And so the staff report will address both 1226 Springdale and 503 College. The applicant is seeking to rezone both 1226 Springdale Road and 503 College Avenue from R15 single family to RM18 multifamily. The properties are both single family residences that the university has previously used for student and faculty housing. The applicant would like to incorporate the houses into his campus with the goal of converting the Springdale house into his business development office, and the College Avenue house would continue to be used as student housing in the short term, with the long-term goal of adding it to a parking plan that we'll talk about in a little bit. The university has owned the Springdale property since 1997 and the College Avenue property since 2006. In terms of existing zoning, properties, as I stated, are both currently zoned R15 single family. Surrounding properties are zoned R15 single family and RM18 multifamily. The university campus is zoned RM18 multifamily. The entire campus behind here, including 501, which they've already owned and rezoned in years past, and then the two properties here. R15 district allows single-family dwellings on lots of at least 15,000 square feet. The proposed RM18 multifamily district allows for a variety of residential development, and is also one of the categories that allows colleges and universities. In terms of existing land use, again, the properties have both been used as single-family residential dwellings in the past. Surrounding uses include single-family houses, churches, and the university campus. The future land use map for this area shows it being low-density residential. The low-density residential district is in keeping with the R15 and R20 single-family zoning districts. In terms of factors to consider tonight, Anderson University has submitted its master plan for the area as requested by the city. This plan shows the College Avenue site as a future parking lot. It also shows the Springdale house remaining in place. The plan shows the creation of a border for the university with the closure of a portion of Summit Avenue, College Avenue. That is this document here. So this would be 503 and then 1226 Springdale. So you can see here the potential road closure. This is the blue line. And what this does is it basically creates a wall for the university on that side of the campus. You would no longer have access to the property from Ridgecrest College, Springdale area. This whole parking lot would be accessed throughout the body of the campus, but it would cut out all the traffic from the Springdale neighborhood if that does in fact take place. In terms of recommendation, city staff is continuing to study the road closure with DOT and the university. There was a meeting between the city and DOT. Essentially, an issue between the state and the university. The city will have to do a resolution as part of that process as we go forward. There will be some public element of that, although I'm not sure exactly how that part works yet. We're still studying that. So. But that is one of the proposals, and we have been in conversations with the DOT about making that happen. This plan would effectively wall off the campus from the Springdale neighborhood, and we feel it may be a good compromise between the university and the neighborhood. I have received two letters which you have in front of you at your stations from two members of the public who are willing to attend the public meeting because of COVID. I have received between 20 and 25 calls at this point. The vast majority were in opposition. We had two that were basically okay with it if it this plan takes place where they close the road and actually steal it off from the neighborhood, and then one that was in favor. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have for staff and the applicants here tonight as well.
Anybody have questions for staff? In previous meetings, we have turned these down, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what happened with those? It just never went in front of city council?
I don't believe 503 has ever actually had a hearing with city council. Springdale has gone before council, and it was withdrawn by the applicant. And so it's never had a vote at the council level. Due to the time span, we decided to bring it back to step one instead of just having them go back to council, just to make sure the public was informed and able to state their opinions. So.
And I remember there was conversation about an overlay district, whatever happened with
Yes,
that?
we did study that. After spending a good deal of time on it, I think we realized that neither party was really interested in it. The neighborhood really just, the people who are in opposition really just wanted to go away and to be turned down. And so after studying it for a while, we determined that that was not the proper step to take.
Any other questions for staff?
So how long would the road closure take?
I'm not sure of that yet because we're still trying to sort out the process. Again, we had a meeting with DOT about that to start the ball rolling, but I don't know if that would take 30 days or 6 months. But I don't think it would be an excessively long time.
So there's no use to consider this unless we have the road closure for sure.
I think we need to move it from here to city council either way tonight. But I think that is something that they would like to proceed with, and I think it is very possible for that to happen. And so I would go with it with the intention that it is likely to happen, I suppose.
Is there a way to put that into our vote or no?
You're just recommending approval or denial, I think.
Okay.
So in either way, again, it goes to council.
Okay. Good question. Anything else? Hear none. The applicant is here. I guess they would like to speak. The way this will work is the applicant has 15 minutes to speak. Anyone opposed has 10 minutes to speak. And then the applicant has 5 more minutes for a rebuttal or anything else. We will be doing it at your space. So just, if you'll stand, state your name, where you live, or what your affiliation is with this, I'd greatly appreciate it. If we'll start with Anderson University.
Is it acceptable to remove this? Can you hear me okay?
Just speak loudly.
We got it. I'm Omar Rashad, member for the University of the Area Administration in Brandon. And I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for allowing us this opportunity to present. We're here because the city staff has recommended the rezoning of these properties to RM18. The purpose of which is that is our zoning classification across campus, and so what that would do, in effect, is bring all of the university-owned properties into that consistent zoning classification. These are the last two. We completed the rezoning of some other properties in August, and this is the next phase in that process. And I would point out that these were originally going to be brought in March, and then of course due to COVID, then that was suspended. So that's the reason for the delay and for the time frame. And then as Mr. Gilbo mentioned, we recommended the research into the overlay district, and unfortunately just didn't satisfy with the objectives and the concerns of the community. And so after, I believe that was probably about a 14-month process, that just kind of parked. So that's where that ended. Just to give a little bit of context, if I take 15 minutes, just drag me out. I promise that won't happen. But to give some quick context, in 2017, at the recommendation of the city staff, we partnered with the drug group. The university contracted with them. They're a firm out of Columbia that the city Parks and Rec had used to develop a master plan for our athletic campus. We did that in 2017 and made that investment. And then in 2018, we partnered with Credo Higher Education. That is a national firm that specializes in collegiate campus master planning. They've done this for campuses all over the United States. And they they took the work of the Boudreaux Group that the city had recommended we work with, and they created a comprehensive master plan. And so the documents that you have reflect that comprehensive master plan of the athletic campus and of the main campus, and with the objective of bringing all of the zoning that the city staff has recommended consistent across the board. So what we're presenting tonight reflects that plan. We feel the university's demonstrated our desire to be a good partner, and that our presence in the community continues to appreciate the value of the properties surrounding the university and the campus. And you've each received a packet in a folder, and that contains a number of documents to assist you in evaluating the recommendation from the city staff. It includes, first is a letter of support, and that is signed by 120 signatories expressing their support of this rezoning request. Second is a copy of the campus master plan, both of the main campus and the athletic campus master plan. The third is a map indicating the proposed space of the board. I'm not putting that up. That is it's not the one that's on the screen. I don't think it's
Exhibit 4A.
yeah, I think I might show that, because I think that's a better, more clear and zoomed in representation of what we're recommending. You see the thrift library there, and essentially a cul-de-sac would be created there at College Heights. It would terminate so that no through traffic of students or university employees would come through the neighborhood, and that all traffic would have to come through Ridgecrest to access that parking behind Rainy. And we create a border of whatever appropriate greenery that the city staff would recommend to provide appropriate separation between the neighborhood and between the university. And this is something that we proposed to the city staff 2 years ago in 2018. So this has been our recommendation, and we plan to go forward with that application to the DOT. And then finally, an economic impact study that was funded through a grant and was completed by Consult Solutions. And that quantifies the university's economic impact to the community exceeding $300 billion. So I have Cody Day, our University Council Vice President, is with me. We're happy to respond to any questions, but thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to just add a word or two, but I used to live in this neighborhood before it was Glendale and Windsor. Lived here for about 16 or 17 years, and love that neighborhood. A lot of good friends still live in the neighborhood. I can assure you that we are want to be good neighbors. We want to do what it would take to make people happy because it's contiguous to the university. We have done significant landscaping and other things for areas around the university. And if you walk on campus, you can see that we take great pride in the buildings and the landscaping. And I think that will definitely continue, certainly. Another thing is I think that this actually creates a buffer and it protects the neighborhood, keeps the property values up. I know that the university does increase the property values in that neighborhood. There's no desire to decrease the property values whatsoever. I think by making this buffer, it will help get it and give the residential neighborhood this long-standing character. Answer your question.
On this Exhibit 4A, either one of y'all can answer. The Springdale Road property, it states that y'all are going to make that into a business office. And I remember in a meeting past, you were not going to have them. Basically, the biggest thing that people always talk about is the traffic. And I know we're not discussing that in a zoning commission, but wanted to ask about there's still parking at that property. So can you just elaborate on that?
There is a director of residence life for the university who oversees student housing. He and his family live there, and so it has a driveway, but there is no on-street parking permitted. If and when it were to become an accounting office, the letter indicates that the entrance would be in the rear of the building, and parking would be in the Rainy parking lot. That's where staff would park. So to answer your question, sir, there would be no parking on the street. Again, we tried to do everything we can to beautify that facility and beautify that area, so we don't want to do anything that would be counterproductive to that.
Go.
And it will look residential. There will be blinds, windows, residential, and that look.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. All right, so anyone opposed, please, now's your time to speak. So just stand one at a time and state your name, where you live, and your concerns.
I'm standing over on one leg because it's hard to do I'm saying, so wrong. My husband Bob and I live at 136 Springville Road for the 45 years. Raised our children and grandchildren here. Before I go any further, I do want to say we own 501 and 503 one house. And it does not have to be associated with the road. There are 2 roads through there that come into it. We do. Let me go. We, as many of you have had really close connections with Addison College for over 60 years. Give old people a little time. Our children grew up playing tennis, on tennis courts, and basketball in the gym. We all, until just recently, I ate Sunday lunch at the OU lunchroom. We love Anderson University. It's part of our lives and our heritage, and so is our home. The homes on Springdale are well built and maintained, and are from 1,500 square feet to 6,000 square feet, and are considered one of the best neighborhoods in Anderson. We have 4 large churches, a hospital, a restaurant, bank, all within walking distance. This is just a few things, but this is what makes our town great. This is what Clemson and Greenville realized they are spending billions on now. Now we are realizing we need people to live and spend money in town, and we want to live in our own neighborhood. I go back 5 generations here, and we love having Anderson University in town. And Anderson University has been blessed. It has hundreds of acres to expand, 29 north of Williamson Road and many more directions. They do not need this one house and lot at the beginning of Springdale Road. Springdale Road is the beginning and the entrance to our neighborhood. They say it's horrible and put these in office, but when the zoning is changed, our neighborhood will change. All the walkers and runners and the 20-something children that are riding bicycles and playing in the neighborhood, going door to door, all this will be destroyed. We have residents on our street who do not oppose the college. We don't want to oppose the college. We love the college. But this is our home, where we live 24 hours a day, and we do not want to live with the possibilities of the traffic, which we do approve. The 503 College and Springdale Road do not need to be heard together. Springdale Road is entirely different, and as I said, 2 roads away from College Avenue. We don't want to live with the possibility of the traffic, the noise of college life, the peace and safety of our neighborhood. Rezoning that one lot will not make a difference to Anderson College, but will affect 55 families in the Hillcrest subdivision. We are asking you to not rezone the Springdale Road property. We have houses straight down through there that all used to be the floodplain. Now, I'm talking from experience. I've lived there that long. Now, I've seen Yeah, one weekend, there were 5 mobile homes parked out there, right across the road. So I was my husband, but it has been a struggle just to maintain our neighborhood. And we have a good neighborhood with fine people, and it's growing. And we don't need to change our lifestyle just because they need that one block that going Springdale Road all the way down that side of the street, and then the other side of the street takes you. We are asking that you do not change the zoning on Springdale Road.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stovall. Anyone have anything that has not already been said in opposition? So, Ms. Stovall, you were for the 503, but not for the Springdale, is that correct?
Out our neighborhood.
Okay. All right. Anyone have anything else? Yes. State your name and...
My name is Martha McCurley. I live at 1223 Springdale Road, been there 20 years. And I'm disappointed in you, Jill. I talked to you several times on the phone. Never did you go over all of this that's been discussed tonight. You said, I really don't know what they want to do with 503. It's in the process. Everything's in the process. I called you at least 4 or 5 times. I know.
Ms. McCurley, yes, Ms. McCurley, please talk to the commission.
I mean, I'm telling the truth, I did. This was not, none of this stuff about closing up the street and all. Now, this had been discussed maybe a year or so ago, but it was all voted down or dropped. Now we're back to today. And I've talked to Jeff several times, he never once, this is the first time I've ever seen this. And for him to take the authority of the liberty of putting these two properties together is wrong. First of all, they're not even close together. There are like 2 streets in between there. The one at 503 College is nearer the school than 1226 Springdale. 1226 Springdale is the gateway to our community. And it has, they spent a lot of money, they fixed it up, and they have a family living there for, I think, a year maybe. Everything has gone great. Beautiful family, beautiful children. I think there's 4 children. I can't understand why they keep insisting on changing this one piece of property. Because when they bought it, they knew it was a single family. But they keep on insisting, and once you do this, it's going to open up a can of worms. We want to keep our Hillcrest community as is. And I'm asking you to please take this into consideration. We have poured love and money and our souls into these homes. And we want to keep it that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Ms. McCurley, are you also in favor of changing the 503 and not the Springdale? Is that correct? Are you in favor of changing the road?
If I have to make a deal, yeah.
Okay.
I just have to leave our neighborhood alone.
All right. So anyone else have something else to say?
Yes, my name is Ronnie Shaw. My wife and I live on Springdale Road. And, we also disapprove very much of even the thought of destroying our neighborhood. And it will be destroyed. I had a real estate appraiser come look at my house the other day. And I was telling him what was going on. He said, try to band together all your neighbors and fight, or you all lose blood. And that was a real estate appraiser who told me that. And he couldn't go on about it. And as Mr. McCurry said, that the family there ran like us now, very nice people. We were very happy. But the university spent a lot of money fixing it up. Everything comes good. We're real happy. But go along and get rid of that and put a business in our neighborhood? Oh, come on. There's not a a big decision for the house.
Exactly.
I guarantee you, he wouldn't want it. If they come to you, they gonna stick something in front of your house, you'll find it too. That's me. You know, my wife and I were supposed to bring Mr. Frog's counsel up here today. He had some things he wanted to say, but I want y'all to think about him and pray for the man that we see. But he wanted me to tell y'all that he's completely against anything being done to that house on Cornelia. He's been there for years and years, raised his children. You know, leaving the whole Anderson County with the children now, he is definitely opposed. I want to make sure that I told you that. And also, the safety matter that I think Mr. Corrales understands. We have children on bicycles, we have children on school, people walking their dog or just walking family and Fred, we don't. Troy, Lord have mercy, it's a nice neighborhood. Most everybody takes care of their neighborhood. I didn't understand all what the other talk about until they come in. But the man has told me the real estate we would definitely lose our property back. And the minimum college said the city wanted it real right. And I don't understand why the city would say something like that to them. Also, this packet they passed out to you people, none of us have got to see it. I mean, I think we should know what they're talking about and what they're talking about with y'all. We'd really like to know what they're saying.
Mr. Shaw, have you ever, were you a part of that overlay district meetings?
Oh, I was there when they was talking about overlay and all that stuff. If they build, that build and put overlay, that's kind of like closing the door and over and over this stuff. Because that ain't gonna do the least bit of good if the building's there. I don't care what you do, you can call it historical or anything you can do. It still ruins the neighborhood.
Okay.
And I don't know, I just can't understand it. It don't make sense. College, university part, and plenty of other property. They got property down Williams Road where they're already businesses. And why pick that one piece of property to ruin the neighborhood? I can't, it don't make sense. And I don't see how they can call themselves good neighborhood. When they're trying to ruin what we do, running our children. That's about all I got to say, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Anyone else have about 2.5 minutes? Yes, sir.
I'm David Kennington, 1137 Springdale Road, Waikanae. I'd just like to comment on a couple of things that Anderson representative said. That, back when the overlay discussion was going on, we were in early talks with an attorney, and with it being a state road, he couldn't understand how we could get how AU or whoever could get a state road closed quickly. And that can't be done, but that was just something that came up that we didn't know how that was going to happen. The other things I'd like to address, I think he mentioned 120 signatures. Were those neighborhood signatures, or where those signatures come from? I'm not sure there. So, and the last, I think, maybe a few months ago, there was a zoning change on the other side of maybe it's Fairfield, not quite old fairgrounds, over on Wilson Street or something, but not in Hillcrest neighborhood. We haven't any zoning changes in that neighborhood limit. So anyway, the state road closure was a big concern for us during this overlay discussion a year or so ago, and it still is now. So, and again, the house in Springdale is just usual stuff from us, and it will cause us some problems. So, anyway, I'd like to bring this to your attention.
Okay, thank you. So, just to clarify, if it were to be able to close off that road, that would not be as concerning for you, or you do want the road closed?
No, I do not.
You do not?
I like it where it is.
Both homes? Okay. Thank you. All right. Yes, we have time for one more.
Okay. Hey, I'm Michael Calder, and I live at 500 Boulevard. This is Mrs. Seymour Hurst here, and she lives across the street on Boulevard. That's right on the edge of the bottom.
Mhm.
And just one quick question I have is, at the very bottom, does that say Ridgecrest Avenue?
Yes, that's the,
So where it looks like there's going to be a new parking lot, is that an entrance into the parking lot right there?
we'll ask the applicant, but it does look that way.
So, you know, that road for the last 10 years, and I've lived at that house for 20 years. And when I first moved in there, one of the things I liked about it was in the historic district. This is good because you can't change anything. You can't cut down trees, you can't build something. And so, that was what drew us there. And so, the way I think it works is they're gonna cut that street off at College right there. It's gonna end. And one of the beautiful things I've seen in the last 5 to 6 years is we have so many new folks moving into this area, closer to downtown. They just moved in a couple of years ago. Children ride their bikes, walking down the street, selling lemonade. It's got that feel to it. It didn't have that feel to it when I moved here. It's become a real neighborhood. Now, back where these folks live on Springdale, it's beautiful because we walk back there all the time. So one bad thing for us is we're going to lose our access to that, but we're going to gain cars pouring out into our homes at the bottom there. And those are all houses. That diagram looks great. It's got all those beautiful trees, but their house is sitting where all those trees are now. And it's all family. And so I want to support Anderson College. Dr. Whitaker is a good friend. And I'm really excited about the things they have going on. But part of this is in the historic district. Right there on that corner at the bottom, if you look on the street sign there, I walk by on my way here. It says Boulevard Historic District. So it seems like this is not the right place to do this because there's so much family, bikes, children going on all through here, and it's going to be a parking lot. And I do feel bad for them to not have enough places to park the cars. They used to park on Ridgecrest, and they really worked with us to help end that. It's so much better now because it was cars on both sides of the road. Coming in and out was impossible. But I talked to Bill and Alice, who actually live next to me, right on this side of the parking lot. And I live in the middle, and then John Stathakis lives on this side. They aren't here, but we all are really having a hard time with how now this is going to make the traffic worse. And we work so hard to get it better. And so I'm from a little different perspective from the Springdale folks, but I walk around Springdale almost every night, and it's a wonderful setting, and we're going to lose all of that. And so I have to be opposed. I mean, I have to be opposed to both. The only way I would agree to the college house is if they could not have an entrance right there for cars coming out, even on the backside by the Rainy Fine Arts Center. We don't have access right there. And put up a gigantic buffer, make it beautiful and green, and somehow give us a pathway to walk through. We want to promote that. Coronavirus has created that. There are folks on our streets every night. You can ask these folks. It's nonstop right now. It's going to end all that. Come up with some green ways for people to walk through all this stuff, and maybe I would agree to it because I know that they need parking. But I sure don't like that access right there because that's going to kill that street. And their families that live all in front. And I have more, but that's pretty much my position.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Calder. All right. So, Mr. Rashad, you have about 5 more minutes. I do have some questions that came up from that.
I'll be glad to answer that. I'd like to appreciate Mr. Seymour's comments and just provide a clarifying comment to that, if I could.
All right.
First of all, this is a concept. This has not gone through civil engineering. You know, we of course work with the city, and so this is a concept. This is not indicating exactly how this is going to look when it's finished. But I do want to point out that Right now, all traffic comes down Ridgecrest anyway and turns on Summit to get back here. So what we're proposing is this termination here that would provide that separation, and then of course, whether the entrance is here, whether the entrance, traffic continues to come down Summit, that is up to the city to recommend that, the city planners to recommend that. So we're agreeable to whatever is best. So if, I hope that answers.
There's no hard feelings if you were to change that entrance. I know that you paid a lot of money to get all these plans and everything else, but for the sake of the community being able to stop that entrance.
I understand it doesn't make any difference though, because the traffic is the same traffic that's coming down Ridgecrest. What's changing is now the traffic's not coming through here.
Yeah.
One of the concerns that we heard since 2017 from the community was that students were coming down this way, coming down College Avenue, coming down Lydell to get into the back of the Reading Fine Arts parking lot. And so again, our goal and our recommendation is the safety of the community, the safety of and the separation there to preserve the beauty that you were speaking about of the community. Now, if we needed to create a bike path or walking path or something to provide access into that cul-de-sac, of course, that's something that, again, we would work with the city on those kind of recommendations. But the volume of traffic is not going to change. That is still the primary, Ridgecrest is still the primary access to the back of the campus. And so what we would be doing would just be cutting off the traffic that has, at least that we've heard, sometimes comes through the neighborhood, and which is not our desire.
Mr. Scalzo does.
Because we,
All right, so, but you see all those parking spots, right? That are new.
in this area,
Yeah, so all those cars that are gonna park over there aren't parking there now, so it is gonna increase the
Right.
traffic.
right? Yeah, it probably, I think it's about, I don't remember, Charlie, they were probably 60 spaces or something like that. Did somebody have a point?
Well, the 120 signatories, like Mr. King was talking about, how many of those are neighbors or directly affected by this?
Because of their privacy, we didn't give out their addresses, and they didn't want us to give out their addresses. They gave us a name and a phone number, and so I cannot quantify that or verify that, but those are, many of these are residents of the city, some are residents of that neighborhood, and then some reside outside of the city limits. But there are some own businesses in the city limits, but reside elsewhere.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Yes. Ms.
Two
Hopple.
of the signatures are mine and my husband's. I'm
Okay.
Susan Lemieux. I live at 707 Windsor Drive. And I just wanted to let you and the commission know that we're not opposed to Anderson University's plans. When we purchased our house in 2012, we loved the neighborhood, but we also loved the fact that the university provided a border on the east side of the neighborhood. All the old buildings were well kept. The new buildings blended in beautifully. The grounds were well kept. We're happy to be a neighbor of the university, and we do not oppose rezoning for Springdale or the plans for 503 College. With the plans the university is making to make the entrance for the business office to the parking lot that already exists, there would be no traffic on Springdale related to that. There would be no dangers to children on bikes or anything else. And we like the idea of creating a cul-de-sac and actually closing the neighborhood to some of that traffic. We're not opposed. So we just felt like we needed to hear that from somebody who felt that way in the neighborhood. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Helmy.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Steve.
What if the road can't be closed?
Then if it can't be closed, it can't be closed. I mean, that's, I don't have any control over that, so, but I'm not opposed to the plan. I like the idea of taking that traffic out of that College Avenue to
I guess my question is really, if it can't be closed, does that affect your support?
No, it doesn't.
Yes.
The whole concept is to take traffic out of the community, to keep it on campus, and to create a definitely beneficial for the community as well.
And
Well-
the office would have no student traffic.
Well, that's what to Mr. Shaw's question about, because he brought it up several times about having a business in there. It sounded to me more like a limited office, like so tell me what y'all are really thinking about.
Very limited, it would be basically accounting services out of there. The parking would only be on the back side of the house, if now what would be in the parking lot. So there would be no need to go in that area. There would be no students going there. It just takes any type of traffic off that road. It's still going to look residential, but there would be no traffic on the road related to that house whatsoever for the university from that perspective. The whole concept of the cul-de-sac is to protect the community, truthfully, and to take traffic off. And as Omar says, certainly where the entrance to the parking lot actually comes out, can all be discussed. We want to be good neighbors, we want to provide a walkway. I know a lot of the neighbors walk their campus, I think that there's some misconceptions on what the university is trying to do. We're actually trying to protect the neighborhood. And by putting a low impact finance office there's no desire for any type of high impact, high student census type building or anything like that.
It'll be quieter than the current situation with 4 kids.
All right. Thank you very much.
And two questions to respond to that. Once that zoning is redone to commercial or is done, there's nothing we can do. That one little lot is going to destroy our entrance to Springdale. Windsor, which is in the middle of our area. We're talking about 55 families right in that circle from Haley over. It will ruin our neighborhood. And we're asking you to just one lot to stay the same.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stovall. Yes, Ms. McCurley, we heard from you. We'll hear from Ms. Seemuller.
Hey guys, my name is Adrienne Mueller. I live at 501 Boulevard. My property is directly across from Albert's, so Springdale is our neighborhood as well. My children, I have 3 kids. They ride their bikes and walk our dog on Springdale every single day. My concern with the plan is increasing any volume of parking is going to increase the amount of traffic. Especially isolating Springdale and creating a more protected environment for them is going to funnel traffic somewhere. I feel like it's going to funnel it more towards Boulevard into Ridgecrest, which is our direct access to the campus. We love AU. We think it's a fantastic neighbor. How many live next to a college or university? I want to be near the university. I love the changes that they've made about parking on the street, restricting it, made it much safer for the children to be in the neighborhood and ride their bikes. But in this sort of plan, it's just going to create more traffic by creating more parking and then funnel it into more isolated areas. So while maybe in some small parts of Springdale, I don't think that is going to affect the area at large. And I wish that perhaps the parking would just sort of expand around 28 instead of creating more congestion and more parking in an area where they just rezoned to not allow parking on the street to begin with, which has been a wonderful change to the street in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a couple of questions I'd like to.
Okay,
Mind?
yes.
So this is to you, Omar. The parking spaces you're proposing here, the additional parking spaces, are they needed for the university?
Yes, we had an increase, there's been some publicity about an increase in enrollment. And we have a demand, our students, right now, with only freshmen and sophomore students living on campus, and we've had multiple requests for juniors to be able to live in campus housing. And so this parking is needed to accommodate the growth of the university, and it's an ongoing challenge for us.
Is there somewhere else this parking could be located and serve the needs that you're talking about?
Yes.
No, I'm asking Omar. The responses to the people we're asking, okay? So is there somewhere else the parking could be located that would serve the purpose that these serve? Or is this access needed for this particular area of campus?
That is part of why we invested in a strategic master plan for the campus and brought in a firm like Fredo that does this on a national scale, because they understand the load on all the different facilities. They're helping us think strategically about growth and not just in a vacuum. And so this is part of their plan, looking at studying the current enrollment, studying the future needs of facilities, and studying the future impact on parking. And so the recommendations are not just arbitrary. This is all based on significant amount of research and tracking the growth pattern for the university and the continued demand.
Is there a way, so a follow-up on that, is there a way to add these parking spaces without increasing traffic flow on Ridgecrest? Can you create an alternative entrance possibly on another area, or actually add another entrance which would drive some of the traffic in that direction and not funnel it all onto Ridgecrest?
Right now, the entrance to that, there are two other entrances which are closer to the present home. I guess Jeff could maybe put the other master plan document up there and you can see. There is a proposed, eventually proposed traffic circle there that would funnel, as you can see, would funnel traffic around the rear of that, of the Rainy Fine Arts facility. So, right now, what we would do is that we could recommend, of course, that's where civil and the city would look at that together and say, the entrance needs to be on Ridgecrest, the entrance could be moved to Summit. If we, going back to the prior slide, sorry, Jeff, if you create the closure there at College Heights, then you can see where Summit turns in and just terminates right into the parking, so that, that entrance, again, that's a civil and a city code question, but Summit could become the access to the parking rather than Ridgecrest.
The entrance is definitely allowable to where my cell guys in the traffic space. We
Okay.
propose to study.
And then I think the access issue for the neighborhood is legitimate. We're cutting off flow of automotive traffic, but is the university willing to commit to saying, look, we'll create a green space, a walkway, a bike path to connect what was lost by closing the road? So pedestrian and bike traffic would still be able to easily access College Avenue and Springdale, but cars would not. So you're basically going to be eliminating car traffic in that neighborhood, but still allowing pedestrian and bike traffic. You'd be willing to commit to that as planned. Okay. All right. And then one more, and I'll shut up. Sorry. One more, and I'll shut up. So right now, the house on Springdale, all traffic to the house goes by Springdale Road, correct?
Yes, sir.
So anything going to that house has to go on to Springdale Road. What you're proposing is eliminating that and making the entrance, all traffic to that house would now come from behind the property, right? So no traffic would be
in that area. We're going to have like man this is where we're referring to. So this would become the parking for any employees. Right now, the family that lives there parks in the driveway.
Sure.
This would be
I understand.
The parking for employees, and then we would create access, a footpath into the facility for employees, so that.
So anyone entering or leaving the building would never even go on Springdale, right?
Right.
So you understand that, correct?
In our neighborhood. We do not want a commercial house in our neighborhood. We do not want.
Ms. Stovall, thank you.
So, okay. Okay, so that clarifies for me, like, your plan.
The city has not contacted us about any changes in the name.
You have a question?
And that's 65 families.
Ms. Strather, you have a question?
I have a few questions for the university. Who uses this parking lot? What population at the university? Is it faculty or staff or students?
This large parking lot that's indicated, that is, it's right now, and Charlie, correct me, but it's zoned, it's mixed, number of faculty and staff. Majority of it are students. of course, for performances and events. We've done, like I said, like we mentioned earlier, we've done a lot to try to get traffic off the street, and especially off of Bridge Crest, so we've tried to do as much as we can to move parking into these lots.
Are they residential students or commuter students?
It's a combination. So there are certain times that residential students are allowed to use a lot, and certain times that commuter students are allowed to use a
And
lot.
what is the university's policy regarding students bringing cars to campus?
We do not restrict students from bringing cars to campus. We found a lot of the national research has shown that that is problematic, and that's a challenge for families and for students. That's something that they want their students to be able to have access to.
We have tried to address that though by having significant parking out at the fairgrounds.
We do require freshmen.
Transit, freshmen have to park at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
The transit system goes back and forth there. And that was a good point because I did want to point out this is not necessarily just students who will be going in and out of that parking lot at all times of the day. There will be, I think, sort of a mixed use, so it's not just students using it, but
It's employees, guests of the community. We have dance recitals there and rentals and other, I think 3 of the dance studios in town use it. So that is it depends on the time of day. During the day, we predominantly students that are commuting and faculty and staff in the evenings. It's a lot of residential students and guests that are there for events. And then, as Reggie mentioned, freshmen are required to park on the the athletic campus, the former fairgrounds.
Any other questions from the committee?
One more. Is there, and this is for you, Jeff.
I was going to say.
This is a rules question. Is there any zoning that would be a compromise? Because I'm hearing they don't want commercial zoning in their neighborhood, and I understand that.
It's not commercial zoning.
It's not commercial zoning.
Technically, it's multifamily zoning.
Gotcha.
Child's colleges and universities.
Okay, so it's not.
The only other way for them to do an office use on Springdale property would be either our limited office or more likely the neighborhood professional district, which allows single-family homes and professional offices. That's it.
So the RM18 basically gives them the university status where they can use it for university.
So that could never be a store,
correct?
Any kind of business. It could only be a university property.
University-related use.
Any other questions for staff or?
I do want to clarify 2 small items. This portion is not in the historic district. The historic district is at Ridgecrest. So any of this area here would not be subject to the historic district guidelines. And then when the board does get to a vote, we can vote on them individually. They are not tied together for voting purposes, just for staff report purpose.
Okay. Is anyone here from the home on 601? Do we know anyone? It really seems like that person is really affected and just didn't know if we'd heard anything from that homeowner.
Nobody that I spoke to on the phone identified as being from that house, but I don't know specifically.
All right, that was just a question. I was kind of surprised we didn't hear from anybody there.
I live right there by this whole thing, man. I never even knew about any of this. Nobody's ever asked me.
There have been signs.
Yeah, I've seen the sign.
Okay.
But I didn't know that this was even going on. I just think that we should let people, I guess it's our duty.
There were signs for about 30 days.
College should have called, because I'd like to know more, but I'd like to have some input and at least some assurances.
Well, I mean, you can bring it up after the meeting with them and everything. So.
And the concept of the closure was raised in 2017, and then.
Yes.
We overlaid with that study, then we tabled everything. So that is not a new or an arbitrary recommendation. That's been something that's been discussed for 3 years.
Okay. Okay, call for question. All right. So we need to get on to the RZ 1703 and RZ 1705, whether or not we are going to vote on these together separate. We need to have a motion, either motion for approval or denial on RZ 1703 and RZ 1705. Would someone like to take a motion? All right. Well, I would like to make a motion that we approve RZ 1705, which is the College Avenue, and deny the RZ 1703. So we can have, that's the motion on the table. Would anyone like to second it, or?
Second.
Corey second it, so we'll just have a discussion.
Clarify which one is which for me.
All right, RZ 1705 is the College Avenue, so that is the parking lot.
Okay.
And then the 1703 is the Springdale, the business office.
Okay.
So the motion that has been seconded is kind of separating those two. And so just, we can have discussion now with the committee. Any discussion on that?
You're combining them into one vote or two separate votes?
Well, basically separating them, so we can.
So we can take two separate votes.
Vote to deny RZ 1703 and a vote to approve RC 1705.
So we're going to take two separate votes?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that seconded?
Corey seconded, so we're good there. Any more discussion on that? All right, so RZ 1703 for denial. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. And so it passes. And RZ 1705 for approval on College Avenue. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that is also. So these will go in front of the city council next Monday, is that correct? Or
September the 14th.
September 14th. So all those wanting to hear more about this, come back on September 14th. So we will move along to RZ 2009. If the vote's already been taken on it, so you can just.
Vote.
Okay.
How do we get all this information that you guys have and have had, and we know nothing about?
Okay, so I would say that you can contact the planning department tomorrow, 231-2222.
I know.
Or if you would like, after you leave here, Mr. Rashad could probably give you some information as well, just as to what's going on September 14th. Mr. Shaw.
Yes, I like the city planning department to work with us like they have the university.
Amen.
All the time.
Well, Mr. Shaw, the vote's been taken, the city staff has been here, you've had the signs, you can call and find out.
I was out of town until 2 or 3 days ago.
So you were out of town for the whole month?
Pardon me?
Were you out of town for the whole month?
For most of the time, last time.
Okay.
Just remind them that our
Well,
vote's not binding.
Our vote is not binding, so like I said, come back September 14th to city council. If you would like to talk to anyone from the university or I believe someone from the planning department will be outside after this to talk about that. But we will, it'll come back in front of city council or September 14th. So thank you. Moving along, RC 2009.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting approval to rezone the property at 1912 East Calhoun Street from R5 single family to RM10 multifamily. The property currently contains a vacant single-family residence.
If we can have everyone step out before conversations take place, we do still have a meeting going on. Thank you.
I couldn't understand.
RZ 2009.
The applicant is requesting approval to rezone the property at 1912 East Calhoun Street from R5 single family to RM10 multifamily. The property currently contains a vacant single family residence. The applicant is planning to construct 9 duplex buildings on the property. Again, the property is currently zoned R5 single family. Surrounding city properties are zoned as one of 3 separate PDD developments. and the adjoining county property is owned RM, residential multifamily. The R5 district allows for single-family residential uses on lots of exceeding 5,000 square feet. The RM10 multifamily district allows for a variety of single and multifamily residential uses at a maximum of 10 units per acre. Again, in terms of existing land use, parcel currently contains a single-family residence. The surrounding area contains a number of single-family homes and duplexes. The future land use map and comprehensive plan do not address this area because it was outside the city limits at the time that plan was drawn up. The adjacent city property is considered to be low-density residential. This land use category is consistent with the R15 and R20 single-family zoning districts. In terms of a recommendation, at the time of its annexation in 2018, the property was owned multifamily in the county. The previous development plans for the site, when annex, called for 14 single-family houses on the property. The new request for 18 residential uses is within the 8 units per acre allowed for duplexes in this district. One issue that has been brought to our attention is the concern about site drainage and runoff for the property. The city wants to ensure that the site is well engineered to handle any potential water runoff issues from the development. With this issue in mind, staff is recommending approval of the request. I'm happy to answer any questions you have for staff, and the applicant is here tonight as well.
So, for Jeff, if this property was zoned multifamily in the county, when it came in, did it just fall into single family?
The previous owner of the property, their plans for the property were for a single-family subdivision.
Okay.
So because of the nature of their request, that's why it was zoned that way.
Okay. And as far as the drainage and runoff of the property, that really nothing can be done until there's a PDD document. So all we're doing right now is just rezoning.
Right. I mean, that would be in the engineering phase of it, but we just wanted to bring it to their attention as early as possible a little bit as it goes through the process.
All right.
Is the builder here?
The owner and future owner.
Okay.
These are for rent that they will own and moving forward. These are not for sale and owned by other people. So he is making an investment in the property and a long-term investment. And just for context, these should be the same as the duplexes that are currently being constructed on Simpson Road, if you've seen those. The same property owner, same development plan for this property in terms of the construction of the units.
But you're gonna be dumping at least 36 vehicles with no stop sign or anything on the county.
There's 9 duplex buildings, so 18 residential units. And so the single-family house would typically generate about 10 car trips a day. So the previous plan, you're looking at 140 car trips a day. Duplexes actually come in slightly less than that. So it wouldn't be 180, it'd be somewhere in between the previous plan and this plan in terms of traffic.
Any other questions for staff?
And again, just for a reminder, when you count car trips, you go to the grocery store, you come home, that's 2 trips, not 1.
All right. Would anybody have any questions for the applicant? Dave, sounds like.
I do.
Okay. Can we hear from the applicant, please? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Why duplexes when you got cobblestone east and west, which is a great design, and then you put duplexes right in the middle of those 2 properties?
Because we plan on owning these, and we just feel like duplexes is a less dense way to do it. And we can take that footprint and overlay it on cobblestone east, and if you count the number of units in cobblestone east, there's 29 units in that same amount of space. We're putting 9 buildings, 18 units. We're trying to put lots of green space, just not develop it as densely as the properties next door, honestly. And these, by the way, these duplexes, they're pretty high high-end duplexes. They're all brick. They're 2-bedroom duplexes per side. We're not, we're looking for professionals. I don't want to sound discriminatory. We're not looking for college kids or things like that. And nothing against college kids. I'm just saying we're, you know.
So the price point of these is going to be.
Price point around there. Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the applicant?
And our detention pond in the back, we're gonna, as far as the water goes, which was a concern that we had when we first looked at the property, like with water. Our engineer, Wesley White, is designing it so that a lot of it goes towards the front. A lot of the stormwater runoff goes towards the front, and then there's already an existing stormwater systems up there. And then the back, we're setting aside over twice as much as Wesley thinks we need to detain the water so that the people next to us are not, and it just trickles out like a garden hose. I mean, it's way overkill, and we want that. We want more green space, and we want more, we want to be good neighbors.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for applicant? Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, Jeff. Have you heard from any of these people that live in Cobblestone?
I've received one phone call, and I explained what the request was. She seemed happy with it. So, but just the one phone call in this case.
All right. So where was the ones that are also like it on the next page? I believe you have Simpson Road on that. In the agenda. You know where I just am having problems because I'm kind of like Dave on this one. It does seem like it's a lot of.
So this is Cobblestone East and Cobblestone West. So Cobblestone East is very dense. I would say it is denser than what they're proposing.
Yes.
Cobblestone West is a little bit less than Cobblestone East. But, I mean, this property is 3.3 acres, so theoretically, you know, it doesn't always work out that way, but call it 3 acres, and duplexes at 8 units per acre, that you would max out at 24 to 25 residential units. So it's below the maximum density for duplexes in that particular zoning district. And it is the RM10, the lower one, not the RM18 district, which is a little more, allows a little more density.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion on?
Make a motion, we approve it.
Motion to approve RZ 2009?
Second.
Second. Take your pick between Steve and Angie. So the motion is to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. All right. So that will go in front of the reading for City Council on September 14th. And seeing as there was no addenda to the agenda, we will consider ourselves adjourned. Thank you all for coming.